Hi, it's Katrina! From solving cold cases 20 years later to finding mysterious killers in another country, here are 10 times Google Earth helped solve crimes. Number 10. 22-year-old cold case. It was a cool, breezy night in November 1997 when William Earl Moult was on his way home from a nightclub in Palm Beach County, Florida. Around midnight, he vanished without a trace. He was last seen driving away alone in his white 1994 Saturn SL as he called his girlfriend to let her know he was on his way home. He never made it. The then 40-year-old man's family reported him missing the next day, and police failed to detect any suspicious circumstances in the case. He did not even appear intoxicated as he left the club, according to witnesses. Moult remained missing for 22 years, until someone was browsing their old neighborhood on Google Earth and spotted a car in a pond. They sent screenshots to another friend who happened to live in the neighborhood and said, "Hey, I think there is a car behind your house in the pond." The man went outside but couldn't see anything from the shore, so he called another neighbor who had a drone and they flew it out over the pond. And sure enough, there was a car submerged in the murky water. They immediately reported the discovery to the local sheriff, who had the vehicle towed from the pond. Human remains wearing a large gold ring were confirmed to belong to Moult, finally solving the decades-old cold case. Residents were shocked that a car containing a dead body had sat for so long unnoticed in their own backyard, especially since it became visible on Google Earth as far back as 2007. At the time Moult disappeared, however, the neighborhood was still under construction, which explains why nobody detected the tragedy in its immediate aftermath, and there was no guardrail to protect motorists from ending up in the pond. Number 9. Drug deals. Besides solving cold cases, Google Street View has actually been able to help capture drug dealers. Google is watching everything, good and bad. A trio of drug dealers were captured in the act on camera by a Google Street View car in Brooklyn, New York in 2010. The images, which show 3 male suspects standing on a street corner in front of a store in the East Williamsburg neighborhood, were used in a law enforcement investigation following complaints about the men pushing crack, heroin, and other illicit substances on locals. Their unwelcome activities in front of 2 different stores reached the point where one shop owner felt obligated to close every morning between 7 and 11 a.m. to avoid crossing paths with the men. In addition to the Google Earth pictures, police captured surveillance images of the men placing heroin into a metal box and hiding it behind a storefront sign. An undercover sting ensued, with cops dressed as Brooklyn hipsters making 20 drug purchases of heroin with brand names such as KFC, FedEx, Powerful Impact, and Crossbones. A subsequent search of one of the peddlers' basements yielded 20 small plastic envelopes of heroin, marijuana, and a packaging lab filled with paraphernalia, including envelopes, scales, and stamps, resulting in criminal charges against 7 suspects. Number 8. Who abandoned their boat? In many places, abandoning unwanted possessions is a crime, and Florida is no exception. But when one Santa Rosa County man decided he no longer wanted his 18-foot-long, 1-ton boat, he removed all identifying markers on it and dumped it in a subdivision that was under construction. Of course, it wasn't yet filled with houses and residents, so he thought nobody would catch him. And nobody did, at least not at first. To solve the mystery of who left the boat in the street to be someone else's problem, Police Deputy Gregory Barnes turned to Google Earth, wondering if he could figure out where the boat had previously been kept. Before long, Barnes spotted it at the home of 57-year-old Dwight Everett Foster, who subsequently faced a felony charge of littering more than 500 pounds of waste. Dang, I'm sure he didn't even see it coming. 3 days after Barnes contacted Foster about the illegal disposal, the man's son removed the boat from its dumping spot and paid just $18 to dump it at a landfill. If only Foster had chosen to do this before the dirty deed was traced to him on Google Earth, he would have spared himself from facing a possible $5,000 fine and a jail sentence of up to 5 years. Number 7. Tax evasion. Google Earth can even help find people who don't pay their taxes. Let's face it, nobody enjoys paying taxes, and people come up with some impressive ways to skirt the system. But the authorities are smarter than many tax dodgers realize, and if you test your limits far enough, there's a likelihood that they'll catch up with you. This was a hard-learned lesson for one businessman from the ski resort town of Cortina d'Ampezzo, Italy, who reported selling a villa for far less than it was actually worth in 2002. The government was already a little suspicious of this guy, so they decided to check it out. The luxury home came with a phallus-shaped swimming pool, making it really easy for the country's Guardia di Finanza, or finance police, to identify it on Google Earth. It was located next to homes worth multiple times more than its declared value, indicating that the previous owner had lied about its selling price. Further investigations revealed that the businessman had committed tax evasion to the tune of 7 million euros. Did you think Google Earth could help uncover tax evasion scams? Me neither. Google Earth has helped other countries identify property owners who use deceptive practices to avoid ponying up to the communal pot. In 2013, the UK government turned to the program to look at properties and identify excessive unreported spending by taxpayers in hopes of retrieving owed money. Number 6. Murder Beyond Borders. A disturbing video of 2 women being killed made headlines in 2018 after going viral online. The terrifying clip shows soldiers blindfolding the pair and their children and mercilessly gunning the women down. Everyone was outraged, but nobody knew where this was even happening. What country was it? What city? What conflict? All anyone had to go on were a few faces featured in the video, along with the mentioning of some nicknames. BBC Africa journalists solved this seemingly impossible mystery just 2 months later, after Amnesty International experts identified Cameroon's conflict-ridden Mayo-Tsanaga region as the location where the atrocities took place. Based on the soldiers' attire, however, the Cameroonian government dismissed this assertion as fake news. But the journalists noticed some conspicuous mountains in the background and carefully searched Google Earth and satellite images, eventually matching the distinctive scenery to a dirt road outside Zelavet, a town in northern Cameroon near the Nigerian border. Not surprisingly, the location is in a region where Cameroonian soldiers are warring with the jihadist group Boko Haram. In addition to figuring out where the killings took place, the team cleverly analyzed the soldiers like human sundials, looking at where the sun was coming from, and observed the dirt road's conditions, ultimately determining that the video was filmed during a precise 2-week period amid the country's dry, hot season. Using Google Earth, social media, and some geometry, the team was incredibly able to solve the murders without having to step foot in the country. They also identified one of the soldiers in the video via Facebook and found proof that some Cameroonian soldiers wear the same uniforms as the men in the footage, effectively debunking the government's claims that the soldiers were not their own. The clever team documented their search in a series of tweets that soon went viral, showing proof that the government officials had lied. Not long after the truth surfaced, Cameroon's Minister of Communication issued a statement announcing that 7 military members were disarmed and imprisoned while under investigation over their alleged involvement in the murders. Number 5. Bike thieves. The Netherlands is famous for being bike-friendly, with an estimated 23 million bicycles outnumbering its 17 million residents at any given time. Even with more bikes than people, bike theft is extremely common. In September 2008, 2 assailants knocked a 14-year-old off his bicycle in Groningen, Holland, and stole it, also making off with the boy's wallet and cell phone. He went to the police but had very little evidence of the crime, giving the authorities little to no leads for catching the culprits. 6 months later, the teen was perusing Google Street View and discovered an image of the 2 robbers actually chasing him on camera. Determined to bring the perpetrators to justice, he went back to law enforcement armed with the new evidence. A police spokesperson announced that the agency had requested an unblurred image of the men from Google in hopes that it would help them solve the crime. The department's robbery squad reportedly recognized the pair as twin brothers and arrested them for their actions against the teen. Google Street View had perfect timing on this one. Number 4. Hidden marijuana farm. In 2008, Swiss police used Google Earth to find a secret cannabis farm in the northeastern state of Thurgau as part of a larger investigation into an alleged drug ring. The 2-acre plantation was hidden within a cornfield, and officers quickly identified it from an aerial view in the small, sleepy town of Rapperswil once they had the address of 2 farmers suspected of being involved in the illegal operation. Following what Zurich police narcotics specialist Norbert Klossner called an interesting chance discovery, authorities seized 1.2 tons of marijuana, along with cash and valuables worth a 6-figure sum. The illicit plants were plowed over, but their distinct pattern remained visible in Google Earth images that were taken before the field was destroyed. Investigators arrested 16 suspects, whom they believed sold as much as 7 tons of marijuana between 2004 and 2008, profiting to the tune of millions. This is just one example of police using satellite imagery to detect illegal drug crops. In 2013, authorities in Oregon flew over a suspected marijuana field and confirmed its existence after first spotting it in an overhead picture of the site. The farmer, Curtis Croft, was licensed to grow medical marijuana for 5 people, which would have amounted to 30 plants. But he had 94 plants, earning him some criminal drug charges. Number 3. Thieves in broad daylight. In 2011, 2 armed men walked away unnoticed after they burglarized a home in the middle of the day in a safe Oklahoma City neighborhood. The homeowner came home and when she entered the house, realized that her house was completely ransacked, but even worse, that the criminals were still there. They caught her completely by surprise, and as soon as they saw her, they held her at gunpoint. For over an hour, they threatened her and terrorized her, leaving the woman completely traumatized and afraid for her life. Finally, they let her go and walked out. The victim was grateful to have emerged from the ordeal unscathed and said she was very lucky that day. Police found several clues at the scene, but nothing that helped them identify the culprits, and the case went cold. But the woman was too terrified to publicly identify herself even 3 years later, when her friend looked at her home on Google Maps and saw that a Google Street View car had captured images of 2 men outside during the month the home invasion occurred. While their faces were blurred out, they were wearing yellow and blue shirts that she instantly recognized. Police took note of their distinctive clothing in hopes of finally identifying and capturing the criminals. They are sharing the image and have saved it as a critical piece of evidence that could prove imperative to a conviction. They have asked the public to come forward with any information that might help them catch the armed men. Number 2. Who stole the RV? In mid-2009, someone stole an RV in South Derbyshire, England. At around the same time, a Google Street View car rolled past, snapping a picture of a man standing nearby while he pulled his pants up in the driveway it was stolen from. Months later, the victims found the image and alerted local law enforcement of what they had found. In the photo, the man was positioned next to an SUV, which the family suspected he used to tow the caravan away. Police were not so quick to assume why the man was in the driveway, but they thought he might be able to provide information in the case and wanted to speak with him. It was an amazing coincidence that the Google Earth car was passing at that time, said Derbyshire Police Constable Adrian Mason. The SUV's license plate was blurred out in the photo, but police released the image in hopes that someone would recognize the person of interest and come forward to help them identify him and perhaps even solve the crime. Authorities attempted to obtain an unblurred image of the license plate, but a Google Street View spokesperson claimed that original images are only kept for a year before they are permanently stored in their obscured state. While there has been no word on whether the police ultimately tracked the man down, the images are still available in case anyone should recognize him. Number 1. Cold case of David Lee Niles. 72-year-old David Lee Niles disappeared after leaving a bar on October 11, 2006, in Byron Township, Michigan. For almost 10 years, nobody had any clue what happened to him. Finally, in late 2015, a maintenance worker was using a lift to install Christmas lights outside of a funeral home. He was roughly a half-mile from where Niles had vanished and spotted a car in a nearby pond. As it turned out, the man's vehicle along with his remains were hiding in plain sight, very close to where he was last seen for almost a decade. The Kent County Sheriff's Department dispatched a dive team to the site, where they confirmed that based on the car's license plates that it belonged to David Lee Niles. Authorities pulled the vehicle from the pond and found the driver's mostly skeletal remains sitting behind the steering wheel, along with the missing man's wallet. Using dental records, they confirmed that the body was his. A cause of death was not immediately determined, but foul play was not suspected in the tragedy. Niles' family was finally able to gain some closure after spending years not knowing his fate. The submerged car had been visible on Google Maps for over 9 years. It was a disturbing find for locals who had no idea a missing person had been hiding in plain sight for all this time. Thanks for watching! Do you use Google Earth? Have you ever spotted anything weird? Let me know in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. See you next time! Bye!